sublimest victory over sensuality. Oops, sensuality, sensuality. Oh my God. Sensuality, sensuality, and force. The true relation born to each other by the sexes into which humankind is distributed has become less misunderstood. And if the error which confounded diversity with inequality of the powers of the two sexes has been partially recognized in the opinions and institutions of modern Europe, we owe this great benefit to the worship of which chivalry was the law and poets the prophets. The poetry of Dante may be considered as a bridge thrown over the stream of time which unites the modern and ancient world. The distorted notions of invisible things which Dante and his rival Milton have idealized are merely the mask and the mantle in which these great poets walk through eternity, enveloped and disguised. It is a difficult question to determine how far they were conscious of the distinction which must have subsisted in their minds between their own creeds and that of the people. Dante at least appears to wish to mark the full extent of it by placing Rippius, whom Virgil calls the one most just man, in paradise, and observing a most heretical caprice in his distribution of rewards and punishments. In Milton's poem contains within itself a philosophical refutation of that system, of which by a strange and natural antithesis it has a chief popular support. Nothing can exceed the energy and magnificence of the character of Satan as expressed in Paradise Lost. It is a mistake to suppose that he could ever have been intended for the popular personification of evil. Implacable hate, patient cunning, and a sleepless refinement of device to inflict the extremest anguish on an enemy. These things are evil, and although venial in a slave, are not to be forgiven in a tyrant. Although redeemed by much that ennobles his defeats in one subdued, are marked by all that dishonors his conquest in the victor. Milton's devil, as a moral being, is as far superior to his God, as one who perseveres in some purpose which he has conceived to be excellent in spite of adversity and torture, is to the one who in the cold security of undoubted triumph inflicts the most horrible revenge upon his enemy, not from any mistaken notion of introducing him to repent of a perseverance in enmity, but with the alleged design of exasperating him to deserve new torments. Milton has so far violated the popular creed, if this shall be judged to be a violation, as to have alleged no superiority of moral virtue to his God over his devil. And this bold neglect of a direct moral purpose is the most decisive proof of the supremacy of Milton's genius. He mingled, as it were, the elements of human nature as colors upon a single palette, and arranged them in the composition of his great picture according to the laws of epic truth. That is, according to the laws of that principle by which a series of actions of the external universe and of intelligence and ethical beings is calculated to excite the sympathy of succeeding generations of mankind. The Divina Commedia and Paradise Lost have conferred upon modern mythology a systematic form, and when change in time shall have added one more superstition to the mass of those which have arisen and decayed upon the earth, commentators will be learnedly, that's an odd word, learnedly employed and elucidating the religion of ancestral Europe, only not utterly forgotten because it will have been stamped with the eternity of genius. Homer was the first and Dante the second epic poet. That is, the second poet, the series of those creations bore a defined and intelligible relation to the knowledge and sentiments and religion of the age in which he lived. and the ages which followed it, developing itself in correspondence with their development. For Lucretius had limed the wings of his swift spirit in the dregs of the sensible world, and Virgil, with a modesty that ill became his genius, had affected the fame of an imitator, even whilst he created anew that all he copied, and none among the flock of mock birds, though their notes were sweet, Apollonius, Rhodus, Quintus Caliber, Nonus Lucan, Statius, or Claudian, have sought even to fulfill a single condition of epic truth. Milton was the third epic poet, for if the title of epic in its highest sense be refused to the Aeneid, still less can it be conceded to the Orlando Faricio, the oh my god. Okay, so basically just lists a bunch of other people or names. Books. Dante and Milton were both deeply penetrated with the ancient religion of the civilized world, and its spirit exists in their poetry, probably in the same proportion as its forms survived in the unreformed worship of modern Europe. The one preceded and the other followed the Reformation at almost equal intervals. Dante was the first religious reformer, and Luther surpassed him rather in rudeness and acrimony than in the boldness of his censures. Dante was the first awakener and entranced Europe. He created a language in itself, music and persuasion, out of a chaos of inharmonious barbarians. He was the congregator of those great spirits who presided over the resurrection of learning, the Lucifer of that starry flock which in the 13th century shone forth from republican Italy, as from a heaven into the darkness of the benighted world. His very words are King, are instinct with spirit, each as a spark, a burning atom of inextinguishable thought, and many yet lie covered in the ashes of their birth, and pregnant with a lighting which has yet found no conductor. All high poetry is infinite. It is as the first acorn. It's in the title. I'm reading the Harvard Classics. You can search it up. It's a series of books. Which contained all oaks potentially. Veil after veil may be undrawn, and the inmost naked beauty of the meaning never exposed. A great poem is a fountain forever overflowing with the waters of wisdom and delight, and after one person and one age has exhausted all its divine effluence, which their peculiar relations enable them to share. That's alright. Another and yet another succeeds, and new relations are ever developed, the source of an unforeseen and unconceived delight. The age immediately succeeds to that of Dante, Petrarch, and Boccaccio, was characterized by a revival of painting, sculpture, and architecture. Chaucer caught the sacred inspiration, and the superstructure of English literature is based upon the materials of Italian invention. But let us not be betrayed from a defense into a critical history of poetry and its influence on society. Be it enough to have pointed out the effects of poets, in the large and true sense of the word, upon their own and all succeeding times. But poets have been challenged to resign the civic crown to reasoners and mechanists on another plea. It is admitted that the exercise of the imagination is most delightful, but it is alleged that of reason is but it is alleged that that of reason is more useful. Let us examine as the grounds of this distinction what is here meant by utility. Pleasure or good, in a general sense, is that which the consciousness of a sensitive and intelligent being seeks, and in which, when found, it acquiesces. There are two kinds of pleasures, one durable, universal, and permanent, the other transitory and particular. Utility may either express the means of producing the former or the latter. Oh, yeah. These drawings, thank you for noticing. I did indeed draw these. These are actually some of my original drawings. I don't know how clearly you could actually see them. But yeah.